Hello, hello, hello. This is Adrian of BWP Promotions and other things I do. I'm here with Blue Olive, the author. This is day 3 of the Blue Olive relaunch. And this is the last day that we get the chance to talk with the author known as Blue Olive. Again, I want to remind people, if you like to get an opportunity to have a one-on-one with Blue Olive, she's giving away a 30-minute session for just $7. So if you go to this link below, blueolive.mylinkstore.com, you can get a ticket to have your one-on-one with author Blue Olive. Also, you'll get a link to her group so that you can find out what freebies and goodies that she's giving away to people who have joined her group and people who are participating. And lastly, I like to mention that this is a Black Women Promote or BWP event, and it's been put on by Black Women Promote, and to remind the women of BWP and the Women of Vision group, all of our groups, that we now provide events for you. So let us know if you like to have your own event in BWP. And I discovered yesterday, as I was posting Blue Olive's last day with us, that we have so much more reach than just inside of a Facebook group. So when we do our event with you, or like we were doing with Blue Olive, it goes just about everywhere. And that includes LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and all other social medias that we know. So anyway, I'm going to just share a couple of things with you, and then we're going to go on to Blue Olive. The first thing is to remind you again that this is a BWP event. So let me go ahead and do that. History Month, all of April. Oh, let me start at the beginning. Hello, beautiful women of Black Women Promote. We have a very special event coming, and I'm so excited to share it with you. It is Black Women's History Month, all of April, and we are having our Black Women's History event. And we would like to invite all of the women of Black Women Promote. Every day it got shorter and shorter. I don't know if you noticed that it started long, then it got shorter, and today it was like 36 seconds. But I did want to make sure we gave a shout out to Black Women Promote and let you guys know that although we're nearing the end of April, hello, beautiful women of Black Women Promote. Hold on. We have a... Okay, very good. That we still have other events coming up. Not only can you still get your unlimited advertising in April, but we have the Women of Vision event coming up in May. So I'm excited about that. I hope as many of you ladies get invited or get involved in that as possible. Okay, so wanted to make sure I let you know about that. Next, let's go ahead and get Janisha on here because we've been waiting long enough. Janisha, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you. And let's see if I can do that. Here we go. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with me these last 3 days this weekend. I hope it was awesome-tagious for you. That is a weekend so awesome it's contagious. Today, I thought I would just be a little bit more open and vulnerable with you to give you more of my history and where I'm coming from. Unfortunately, I did a thing to my ankle, so I got my foot propped up and won't be able to move around as much. But I thought today would be a day I would just go from as much of my beginning as I can and bring you into as much of my present as I can. I know it's like authors are popping up all over the place, which is fun for me because I love to read. But for me, writing is something personal because it is something I have always done. Even when I was a kid, I would go into Barnes and Noble or Borders bookstore before it shut down and say, I'm going to have my books in here someday. And I hadn't written anything to be published, but I was determined to have my books into the bookstores. My life didn't turn out quite the way I planned it, but I still am learning and growing and am enjoying the way that it is. Unfortunately, I didn't get to have a really cool childhood. I spent most of my time on defense or trying to protect myself from the people who were intended to protect me. Uh, and coming from being abused of all kinds, from many different places, and the rejection, I believe, is what caused me to go from being the confident, extroverted person that I started out being into being someone very shy and quiet. I felt like if I disappeared, then the bad things wouldn't happen. And the only thing disappearing did was keep me from being great. Um, Things still happened, things still weren't always so great. So when I say I understand what it is to write your story from the hard parts, from the parts you're afraid to talk about, from the parts that you feel like someone is going to show up somewhere and say something that'll either embarrass you or make other people laugh at you. I get it. It's not easy. But I also understand when I say someone somewhere needs to hear your story so that you can help them get to their next level. Because I was somebody who needed to hear someone's story, or I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today. And you never know whose life you will change or make better when you step out and do the thing you are created to do. I always thought that I would be this singing doctor. I had plans on marrying a minister, and we would minister and sing together. And Monday through Friday, I would be a doctor, probably for kids because I like them the best, or for people who couldn't afford doctors. And I would take care of them to make sure they're okay Monday through Friday. And on the weekends, I would sing. And I planned for my husband and myself to have 7 amazing kids. And when it was his turn to speak or whatever, I would take care of the kids. And when it was my turn, he would take care of the kids. And together we would minister and sing and travel the world, helping people get uh, what they didn't have and telling people that Jesus loves them. So, a lot of people may think that I am religious. I actually don't like to be called religious because I have taken time out to create a relationship with my Lord and Savior. So, I have a relationship. To me, religion is something you do out of habit, not necessarily something you want to do, but you feel like you're supposed to do it. Relationship means you want to be there, you want to serve, you want to get to know. And I have an amazing relationship with God that I wouldn't trade for anything in the world because I want to be here. I want to serve. I want to love Him just the way He is and the way He loves me, just the way that I am. So that is the difference between being religious for me and having a relationship. And I love it because I get to have a friend that I can talk to that never gets tired of me because I can be a lot sometimes. So I began this writing journey for real, 2018. I restarted with the comments and I took my time with the story. And it was hard because it brought up memories. It was hard because it brought up old feelings. It was hard because it brought up the old fears that I used to have, and I had to write my way through it so that I could overcome, so that I could help you overcome. There is no way I could help anybody else being stuck in that same position. So I can only tell you that I can help you because I had to go through it myself. And when God showed me that I can overcome, I can now show you, you too can overcome. So I'm not just coming out of the woodwork saying anything just to make you feel good. I totally understand. I have been homeless myself a few times, more than I care to count. And I've had a brief visit with domestic violence. It didn't last that long. So I do understand. I do get it. I do know the struggles that you may go through and why you may feel like you can't write this story because nobody is going to want it. Nobody's going to believe it. Who's going to show up? What if the people find out I'm writing this story and they say or they do? I've had all of those, and the what ifs never stop coming. It's what I decide to do regardless. And I change my what ifs now. So instead of what if no one shows up, I'm like, wow, will I have enough room? What if everybody shows up? Or instead of what if nobody likes it, I'm like, oh my gosh, will I be able to keep up writing? Because what if everybody likes what I write? And I constantly battle the what ifs by changing the negative into the positive and believing and focusing on what is positive. The Bible says to think on the things that are good, that are lovely, that are of good report. And when we focus on those are the things that get made bigger. And when you focus on the negative things, those are the things that get made bigger. And I lived it. And I am so done with living with making what's bad bigger than what's good. I would like to reverse that. So I've been working on reversing that position, changing my focus to what's good. And what's good has gotten bigger than the bad stuff. And it's not just knowing things. You can know things all the time. I've known what the Bible has said most of my life. But when you use it, again, another difference between religion and relationship. I use what I know, and it is working, and it is working well with me. So I want to help you get there too. Reach out and we can talk about what you need. If you don't need the entire story written, I'm also an editor. If you don't need to write it on editor, you just need someone to help you get it published, I can do that as well. And I am an awesome promoter. I love to build people up and uh, create an atmosphere where everyone will celebrate you as well. I like to celebrate for other people's, especially birthdays. Those are my favorite things to celebrate. I have no idea why, but I like to exalt my brother or sister higher than I esteem myself because I know that in the way I lift you up, that is the way my God will lift me up. And I'm covered. And why not celebrate your brother or your sister? You're celebrating yourself just as well because we are all a part of each other. One body, one mind, one soul. So we work well together. And I will make sure that I present your story as if it were my own, or even better than that, because it means something to me to make sure you are heard, to make sure you are seen, and that no one silences your voice ever again. I lived a life where I was told to be quiet, stop telling that story. I was called a liar and a paranoid schizophrenic by my mom. Yeah. So it's not something I'm a stranger to, because now she roots for me. So I'm just saying, tell your story the way that it is, and someone will hear you, and someone will say, "This is what I needed." Honestly, if I am not the person you want to work with, I have connections to people you may feel more comfortable with, or you may feel can you'll work with better. And that happens. Not everybody is capable of working with everybody. I may know someone who has the thing that you need the most, and I am not offended by that. But I do want to help get you started. So I won't know what you need until you contact me and let me know, and we can get it started. And sometimes you may not need my help at all. You may just need me to be the motivator, and you can do it yourself. I don't mind encouraging you. Someone encouraged me and helped me get started. So I will be that for you. It is up to you. I also wanted to share that I have three amazing young men now. They're not little boys anymore. God has blessed me with three sons who are extremely smart and talented and gifted, and we are working together. And I can't wait to show you the things that we are working on so that you can get to see how smart they are and how handsomer they are. I also took in my nephew. He's considered a son. He's very talented and smart. All of the kids in our family are pretty awesome. So I love my kids. I love helping people. And the one thing I do not take for granted are the elderly in my life. I love listening to what they have to say because I learn so much. Wisdom is in them and they don't mind sharing it, and I don't mind listening to it. So, that is some of me in a nutshell. I am not complicated. I'm very easy to talk to. I listen and I give you what God gives me, but if I don't have anything, I am not the somebody to make something up. I am the first to pray for you. I am the last to talk about anything concerning you unless it is with you and with your permission. Anything you say to me stays with me until I take it to God, and then He may have to remind me. So I am just sharing a piece of myself with you today so that you can understand and know that this is something that is real for me. It is not a fly by night, uh, haphazard thing that I'm doing just because, but it is something I am passionate about. It is something I care very deeply about. And I am hoping to reach the women who need me the most and who are looking for my story so that they can feel like they have a way to their next. I want to thank you again so much for coming in this weekend and seeing my books and t shirts. I'm working on the water bottles, they're not ready yet. I'm also going to have hats and bags and little drawstring book bags. I love those the most. Those are my favorite. I don't like purses much, but I love the drawstring book bag. And some other items that I will have just to represent not just Blue Olive, but his Vision Dreamers. My goal is to pull out a vision or teach you how to have a vision for yourself and for the future. Um, and so that you can work fulfilling your vision instead of someone else's. I believe that is everything that I have on me today. And you can find me as Janisha Morton on Facebook, and you can inbox me anytime. If you feel like you are in a position where you just don't want to go on anymore, please reach out before you make any permanent decisions. I have attempted suicide myself multiple times, and it is not an answer. It is a permanent solution for a temporary problem. So if you need to talk about something, if you just want to hold the phone and say nothing, just reach out. I would rather you call me at whatever time and we talk it through than you to do something permanent like that. Because it doesn't just affect you, it affects the people around you, whether you believe it or not. And that is all of me, mostly. And I look forward to working with you guys. I had an amazing time this weekend sharing my stories. I can't wait to share more with you. Have an amazing rest of the weekend on purpose. And when you need me, I am here waiting for you.
Fantastic. And Blue Olive, you're not going to get away just that easy yet. I have a couple of questions for you. First of all, I want to thank you for doing this 3-day event. It's been really a learning experience for me, and also really great to learn more about you. And I like the way that we were able to just every day give a little bit more about who you are each and every day. Also, I had some questions. So, um, first, I remember you had said there were a few books that were going to be turned into movies. Which books were those again, Janisha? Or Blue Olive?
Okay. The first four books that I wrote, the movie will be entitled My Life in a Dream. The first part of it is called The Commons. The second part is called Amani. The third part is Pete and Repeat. And then the last part is called The Community. So in the first book, you see someone, well, you see a lot, but there's a woman who is building something she calls the Commons because U.S. is getting rid of Section 8. They're getting rid of like project housing and all that stuff, and people are not having anywhere to go. So she takes advantage of it, and they don't fully get rid of it yet. They just say they might, and so she, people start to panic, and she takes advantage, and she builds this building, and it's a really nice building with all these little compartments, and her heart wants to really help people, but the demons from her past take over and it goes left really fast. But in the Commons, a lady has a son who's investigating the woman who owns the Commons because they've gotten complaints about things she has done. And so he asked his mom to go undercover to live in the Commons so that he could get closer. She looks at the lady and recognizes who she is right away. But the lady doesn't know that. She's thinking she's looking at her and figuring out, other stuff, and it has nothing to do with that. She just recognizes her as the daughter she lost when she and her sister were toddlers. And so this girl grew up with her twin sister, not knowing it was her twin sister. And she was her twin sister's bully. And she mistreated this girl so much. Um, but for some reason, she couldn't stay away from her. So she hunted her down, sent her a letter that said her Section 8 and stuff was over, which wasn't real. And with Section 8 not returning the young lady's calls, she assumed that everything was real. So she ends up moving into the Commons. And so the mother sees them both and is like, oh my God, I can't hide this anymore. And so the oldest son knows what happened because he was around the time that the girls were taken and stuff. And the truth be told, no one knows that the girls were born of their grandfather because their grandfather attacked their mom and raped her.
Wow.
So that's what caused her not to be so normal. When she was pregnant, she didn't tell anyone. Her husband thought that she cheated on him. So he took the little boy and left. But there was a day she just snapped and she hurt the girls, and that's what caused her to lose them. So when the husband realized that she was losing it, he went back to support her, and then he found out what really happened. So they renewed their wedding vows, whatever. But she never really dealt with anything. She just kept shoving it under the rug. And so when everything starts to hit the fan in the comments, she decides, okay, I need to go get help for me so that I can keep my family, because it was getting to a point where her son was threatening to tell everything to the father and the younger brother, and they were just going to walk away. And the daughters were deciding, um, they didn't know they were the daughters yet, but they were deciding, you know what, my life sucks. The one of the girl that was one of the girls was in medical school or pre med, and she was deciding to do something different for her kids because where she got adopted, she was abused, which was how she ended up with her kids. So she never had a boyfriend or anything, and she wanted something different for her kids. And they were already deciding they weren't going to participate with finding their real mom or anything. They were just going to be themselves. But yeah, the stuff hits the fan. There's an officer in there who lost his daughter before she was born. He found her, but he doesn't know how to be her father, so he's having to go through some things. In Amani, you see where she fights really hard to get her family back. She's going to the therapy she ran away from years ago. She's doing the assignments she never wanted to do. Um, the stuff she said she would do with this therapist, but just was like, no, I'm not going to do it. So she buckles down and forgives her mother for a lot of things. Uh, and just the family, you see the family starting to merge together. And they have bumps where people, have lapses or whatever. But you see them possibly trying to make things happen. And then in Pete and Repeat, you kind of see the sins of the fathers, mothers revisited into the younger generations, and people just repeating the same stuff over and over again. And it's not just this one family, there are a few families that are going through the whole trying to figure out how to handle the truth. Um, One of the young ladies that was in the comments before stuff got bad, when her dad found her, she also found out some things about her mom. And unfortunately, they thought she was mentally ill, but she had a very uh, small issue that could have been resolved, but they didn't find it until it was too late. So um, the community is it's not really the final uh, end all thing. You see where at the end, Imani discovers something about her grandmother, the lady who she was named after, that was so dark. It was extremely scary. And so I will be writing that story about the original Imani, but she taps into why they had such a hard time in their life and stuff that maybe her mother didn't even know. But yeah.
So Janisha, Blue Olive, this sounds like a combination of multiple books. Is it possible this could be multiple movies?
Well, it's going to be a 4-part movie. It's not going to be a
Four
whole.
parts. Yeah.
So the first part will come out 2024. The second part will come out probably 2 years after that. The third part 2 years after that.
Oh, wow.
Your interception.
Yeah.
And the fourth part will come out 2 years after that. But then there's going to have to be a movie about Imani.
His dark grandmother.
Explain everything in parts 1 through 4, which is weird to me because I'm like, why didn't I get the beginning of the story at the beginning of the story. I'm getting the why at the end of the story, which is weird. But
I love it. You're writing it like a Quentin Tarantino movie. I love it.
so I was like,
That's
okay, we're
awesome.
gonna get
That's
the
awesome.
why at the end. All right, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
that's that one. Another movie that I wanted to do that I have is um, it's called Expect the Unexpected now, and it's about a young lady who really has to learn how to adapt to her world around her, even when things are shifting to where it's hard to deal with.
Mm,
Um, she was one who took up for the underdog. She was one who wasn't really big on how rich she was. She didn't flaunt it and was like, "Oh my God, I'm better than you because I'm so rich and you're so not."
mhm.
That wasn't her thing ever.
Yeah.
Um, but when she loses the people who mean the most in the world to her, she nearly loses herself, and she finds out that the family she thought she had wasn't the family she thought she had, and the friends that she never really paid attention to were really more of a family to her than the people who were related to her.
Mm,
That one, The Protection Plan, is another one. I love that book. And another movie is Always Open, Breakfast, Lunch, or Dinner, Anytime. And it's about a young lady who was raised by her grandparents. And she's a beautiful little white girl. And her mom disappeared, just decided, I don't want to do it anymore. I don't know what her father was doing or not doing. I do know he just wasn't present at all. It was like it wasn't even supposed to be a daughter. I think it was probably a one night stand type thing, and he just didn't want to be responsible or a part of it. So I'm thinking that's probably why her mom disappeared, was because he
mm,
disappeared and she didn't know how to handle it.
mhm,
And she decided when little baby turned 6, I don't want to do this no more. Dropped her off at a parent's house and disappeared.
mm,
So this little girl learned everything from her grandma, how to cook, how to do everything. And she said her grandmother struggled to take care of her. And she said when she gets older, she's going to make a restaurant and cook all of the recipes that her grandmother taught her
mm,
so that she could get the money for her medical care and get the money for whatever she needed and take her on trips and take her shopping and just spoil her grandma the way her grandma had always taken care of her. And so she goes off to college, and that's how she makes her money for school. She's making these recipes, and there is a an entrepreneur, a business or something that picks her up and says, if you do it here first, we can use that as a part of your payment program for the school, and you don't have to endanger yourself in your room trying to cook. You can use the kitchen.
mm,
And so she said, okay, I'll start here. But her goal was to always start from home because they were from this small, small town in Mississippi.
mhm,
And so she didn't know her grandmother had passed because her grandfather was stubborn. He didn't tell her until she got home. And by this time, she had already had several restaurants put up in surrounding neighborhoods and where her school was. And so she was in the process of building the first restaurant when she came home. And Grandpa is so cute. And he was like, we don't need any more restaurants or nothing over here. They trying to make us like a big city. We're not no big city. And she was like, well, Grandpa, everybody will get to have a job and people will struggle with money. Ain't nobody struggling like that. We all right. We good, honest people. So she decided to wait to tell him that the restaurant was hers. Um, her ex boyfriend shows up from school trying to apologize. she's not really hearing it, and her grandfather starts to get sick, and she's taking care of him. She's stepping up. She's like, I wasn't there for my grandmother, but I can be here for him. His prayer one day is, God, please take me because she won't live her life if I'm here. She's going to always be here. And she's young
Mhm.
and she needs to go live. And he's like, I
Mhm.
have lived already. So when he dies, that's when she decides to start doing some things for herself. And she posts a picture of her grandparents on the restaurant, and the one at home is the only restaurant with all of the recipes from her grandmother, exactly the way her grandmother gave them to her. Now,
Wow.
of course, the rest of the restaurant she made it her own stuff, but this one she does it exactly the way her grandmother taught her, and she doesn't deviate on the one at their home front. And that's the only place where you can get the original recipe from her grandma.
Mhm.
So that one is one of my favorite stories. I can't wait to do that because I can see everything,
Oh
how
my,
the scene's set up, all that.
Janisha, I got to tell you this. As you were telling that story, I don't know if it was the last time you had a live event or if you did a reading from it or something, but I remember hearing the story before. And I couldn't remember the ending, but I could remember the story. And you're right. You've created a picture of these characters that are memorable because I remembered her story.
Yeah.
Almost like she's an individual already. Like when you were telling it, I was like, "Oh yeah, she's the one," and that's not funny. And that's an amazing ability as a storyteller to be able to create that connection so that when people even hear her story, you're like, oh yeah, that's I remember that. It's amazing.
So she is one of my favoriteest people. I grow attached to my characters, especially when they give me their story.
It's
Um,
amazing.
yeah, they are
I
funny.
also wanted to mention something else I've noticed. Are you wearing the Every Woman is a Businesswoman t-shirt?
I am.
I had mine on earlier. So let's give a shout out to Tammy Polk. Let's give a shout out to Tammy.
Yeah, I have on my t-shirt.
I love it. I love it. I mean, now, didn't you say Tammy is sort of responsible for getting you to actually start publishing?
She is responsible for helping me get started writing, period. I
Wow.
had given up on it, and I kept saying I was going to rewrite it, but of course we know later never comes. And I wasn't going to ask, but one day I was just like, can you help me? And I do not regret that day. Um, since then, I have been coached by some amazing people. Um, Christina Garrett. I'm now being coached by Tamika Anderson, and it's just been a really good journey. And I can't wait to keep going.
I feel like I know both of those names. So you're yeah, well, all of them. I mean, Tammy, Tamika, I've heard all of those names. It's amazing, amazing. There's another question. And you kind of hit on it again when you mentioned the coaches, but on average, and you can be general here, how much would a person who wants to become an author be looking at spending in order to say publish their first book?
Wow. Um,
And if you want to add coaches and all that in there, that's okay too, because I understand.
let me see. It's for me. It started off in the thousand area, and then it went up. So, but it is worth it, and I do have people who give you will give you payment plans, which is how I learned how to do my payment
Mm,
plan system. So now it is about between 3 and 5K.
Mm-hmm. Per
And
book.
because they are still like they don't stop learning, so it's like the
Mm-hmm.
more they know, the more expensive they become. So the same here with myself. Like I'm not. Um, it's like the price I was yesterday will not be my price tomorrow, type thing.
Right. Right.
But it was it was worth it, and I don't mind, investing into myself that way. But I did spend a lot getting it built up. When you get your ISBN and your copyrights, you have to pay for those. Uh, I think they have ISBN copyright deal for 180 at a certain company. So if you need one, then you need one each book. And so when you have a whole bunch of them, that gets to be a little
Yeah.
costly.
I mean, you've got 150 books, so I'm already in my mind calculating how much you've put out for that.
Um, so I have those, and then I have, well, I can edit as well, but if you
Right.
want editing, that costs. Or if you use Grammarly, that's like really good, but you always want another pair of eyes
Yeah.
on your book so that they can catch what you don't catch. For example, when I was writing, there was one time I was sleepy and I fell into a loop where I had said the same thing like 3 times but didn't know it because
Ah.
sleepy. And my editor caught it and I was like, oh wow, I didn't realize I had done that.
Yeah.
So you want one of those.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's a good number. I think she said to start 1,000, but really you're looking at 3 to 5,000 per book. And
Yeah,
with that, I mean, I know you've published on Amazon. Um, how long would you say does it take in order to recoup your return on investment?
it's not that part is on you. Some people can write books and publish them and be like, hey, I wrote a book and sell, sell, sell. And then there's some people it takes more time. For me, it's taking time because I'm still introducing myself to people and people are still learning about what I'm doing and who I am. And I'm believing God may be taking me through a process like this to make sure that I am consistent. And consistency pays big time. If you are someone who starts and then stops, then people will just stop until you show that you're willing to keep going. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a bad habit I used to have. I would be so excited about starting, then I would stop. And you can't do that. You have to remain consistent. You have to remain uh, faithful to what you're doing. You can't just decide, oh, I'm gonna do this one day, and then the next day you want to stop. You have to keep going. So I have been
Consistency.
putting that into practice this last year mostly to just keep going no matter what, and to keep being persistent and to keep posting. I'm showing up at more events. I am making myself present and known, and I'm getting out of the bad habit of hiding when I don't feel good about stuff. So, yeah.
Do you feel that events and public appearances are a must for authors?
I'm assuming it is. I am not somebody who is wanting to be famous, but I don't know of another way around it
Mm,
because people want to know who you are. Like, I am grateful for the authors that I love, and I
mm,
suppose if they tried to stay hidden, I would have never known about them. So, there is a certain part of you that has to be willing to be open
mm,
and available to your audience. And yes, you can still keep your private life private or whatever, but you can't be completely hidden, and then expect to sell because people won't know who you are and they don't trust what they don't know.
That's amazing because I feel like people in all different types of careers online tend to hide because it's so easy to want to hide, you know. And it's good advice to let people know, hey, you're going to have to step out, not just write the book, but then present the book. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
multiple steps that you have to take to make it work. So it's amazing. I I'm one of the things I heard you mention yesterday or day before about helping getting books published. I think you said Borders or somewhere else. I think it was.
Oh, it was Borders, Barnes and Noble, and I can't think of the other bookstore we used to visit all the time.
Mm,
And many of, and I know I wanted to be in the libraries because my sons and I we used to hang out in the library,
mhm,
especially in the summertime because they had the best air conditioning ever.
mm.
But we used to hang out in the library, and I would think about how my books would be in the libraries and all that good stuff. So I was like, I guess I needed to be writing in order for that to happen. So I'm excited that I finally started putting into action the things that I promised for myself,
Mhm.
which is not something that I grew up learning to do. My family is amazing with talking about what they're going to do, and then that is all you're going to get. They
They
don't
don't actually do it.
don't do a thing. Oh my
Oh,
gosh, that would be great if we could. Yeah, yeah, and we could, and get you all pumped up, and then
yeah.
do nothing. So yeah.
So funny. There's so many people out there that always say that. So that they would do it, but they don't do it. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is people, she knows how to get you into the bookstores because it sounds like that's something you've mastered, right?
Not yet.
No,
Still
oh, no.
working because I am online with Barnes and Noble. My goal is to be in the bookstore. I would be right next to Toni Morrison. I already spotted out my spot because of my
Wow.
name. So I would be right next door to Toni Morrison. And I was like, yes, I can't wait till my book is right here, right next to Toni Morrison's stuff.
Just keep visualizing it. It's
Yeah,
definitely coming. I can
took
feel
a
it.
picture. I was like, my book is going to be right there. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that a beautiful spot? I know.
Yeah, speak that into existence. Blue Olive's books are going to be right next to Toni Morrison. They're going to be in all of the bookstores and
Yes,
Borders and
Walmart and
Barnes and Noble.
Target and
Yes,
Barnes Noble and
everywhere.
Anime's bookstore.
Yeah,
That's to cover the little mom and pop shops.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. Well, Janisha, I always have so much fun. I'm so happy that we had a chance to get together and do this tonight. I know we normally don't do anything on Sundays. I mean, I don't usually, but this has been really fun. I got one special question to ask you before we
Okay.
go. I know you hurt your little foot, but would you sing us out? Is there a song you like to sing for us to keep people motivated? Because I love hearing you sing.
Oh, okay. Give me a minute to think.
I'll just say she's not only an author, but she's also a singer. So I wanted to give her a chance to share that with us.
No, that's not it. Whew. Okay, it's been a while since anyone has asked me to sing, so every song I know is like, bye. No.
Oh, I think you have a beautiful voice. So figured good opportunity to share it.
Oh, it's coming to me. I know
Oh,
I used to sing it in school. Oh, wow.
I don't want to put you on the spot if it's, but just
No, it's a really nice song, and I can't think of what it is. I used to love that song. Okay, I'm gonna have to let that one go because it's not.
it's because you're on the spot. I feel bad for putting you on the spot.
Where is that? Oh my gosh, we used to sing it all the time. Wow. And it's going to come to me when I get off of here. Watch. But I know one. I got it. I got it. May his peace be with you until we meet again. May his peace be with you until we meet again. Till we reach that distant shore, we will shed a tear no more. May he give you strength to endure until we meet again. Till we meet again.
So beautiful, Blue Olive. I got goosebumps on that. Thank you, my sweet friend. You guys, this has been the last day with Blue Olive, the author, and I have a link here. You can connect with Blue Olive by getting a ticket to speak with her for a 30-minute session. Just go to Blue Olive. It's blue-olive.mylinkstore.com. That's blue-olive.mylinkstore.com. And she is going to be able to talk to all of you about how she has become an author of 150 books. Okay. Much love to you, Blue Olive. Many blessings. And I'll put some music on and we'll get on out of here. Okay. Many blessings to you.
Thank you.